Hey goalies, on today we have Matt Zaba. He's the USHL Tri-City Storm goalie coach, and he also played in the New York Rangers system and went to Colorado College and played D1 hockey there. Before we begin, go and check out UnLockGoaltending.com. It's an online training program designed to help goalies unlock their potential. We have free training resources as well as on-ice, off-ice, vision, and mental strength training programs to help you become a better goalie each and every day. Find us online at unlockgoaltending.com. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every week, we'll publish interviews with NCAA, major, junior, and professional goalies, as well as goalie coaches across North America. Subscribe today and keep in touch with us and never miss an interview. Hey goalie world, Josh Aycock here with UnLock Goaltending, and sitting with me today is Matt Zaba from Mountain High Hockey. He's also the Tri-City Storm USHL goalie coach and former goalie coach for Colorado College, and he's agreed to sit down with us today and walk us through his life, some of his experiences and stories. So Matt, first thing, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. It's great to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate the invite from UnLock. I grew up in Saskatchewan. I started playing goal when I was 12. I was a forward or defenseman up until that point. I was from a real small town. We only had one goalie, and he left to go to a goalie school. So my dad was our coach. He made me be the goalie. From that point on, I switched back and forth before becoming full-time at 12. When I was junior eligible, I moved to the BCHL and played for the Vernon Vipers. From there, it was off to Colorado College, 3 years in the Rangers system, and then 5 years in Europe.
Just take us through, maybe your hardest, toughest moment as a goalie in your career, kind of a low point for you. And then also, how did you overcome that situation?
The hardest part was probably my last year playing in the AHL. I'd worked my way up the depth chart from like number 5 to number 3 in the Rangers system. And I got hurt right away that year. I got a concussion, and the other goalie just was Chad Johnson. He just lit the world on fire. And from that point on, it was really hard for me to get back in the net. So I think for me, the hardest part was kind of dealing with that situation, trying to be a good teammate while trying to work myself back into the lineup. And it was tough. I mean, it was really hard to overcome just kind of the circumstance, because I think as a goalie, you work so hard to get where you want to go, and then to see it kind of drop off so quickly was a real tough mentally to deal with. But I think how I kind of just got over that was, learning that your time's going to come eventually again, and just sticking with it.
What is one piece of advice that you'd have for a young and developing goaltender?
Patient. It seems like a lot of the goalies nowadays, everyone's in a rush. They're in a rush to play juniors or play college and then eventually hopefully play pro. And I think a lot of kids don't really understand the big picture. There's only 2 goalies per team at the highest levels. And I mean, you're essentially competing for, in the NHL, 62 jobs, and that funnels down to college and juniors. So when you think about it, it's going to be a long path. You're going to have to wait your turn, and you are going to be a backup goalie at some time. The most important part is just taking care of your game and controlling what you can control. And that's your development, as opposed to maybe your playing time or where you're currently slotted on the depth chart. That's the hardest thing to teach and to keep in perspective, because everyone, they want the results right now, or that gratification right now of being the guy. And I mean, it's very few people that ever step in and can be the guy right away. You're going to have to go through a little bit of the process where you're going to be the backup goalie, or you're not going to be playing, and you're going to wonder, why am I not getting my chance when this guy is? But my advice is to most people is like, your chance always comes. It's the one who did the work that are prepared to take advantage of it when it does come. And the thing is, you don't know when that chance is going to come, but it always does. And it comes usually when at least expected. Some guys it happens right away. Other guys it takes years for that to happen, but it always comes.
A lot of goalies ask their coaches and ask goalie coaches, what do you look for in a goalie? What do you want your goalies to do? How do you want your goalies to behave? Are there a couple of key attributes that you really look for from your guys?
I usually notice is their skating ability, like how they move in the net. Are they able to keep up with the play? Are their feet set before they need to be, or are they chasing the play? Usually for me, a lot of the goalies that will really grab my attention are maybe ones that you don't really notice because they're not giving up many rebounds. They're always in position. They just seem to control the game. Would be a big thing. I think a main thing too is, are the kids coachable? Like if you talk to their coaches or people that they've worked with, are they receptive to making changes, or are they receptive to coaching, or are they just kind of one of those people that are stuck in their ways? Because I mean, as we know, the game's always evolving, and to stay ahead of it, you've got to be able to make changes to adapt to the situations. The biggest thing we need to start addressing is more how kids read the play, like understanding situations. Like the movements are good, the save selections seem to be pretty good, but I think the decision making on when to challenge, when to stay back, like who the threats are on the ice, and just reading plays is one thing that is definitely under taught
For sure.
right now. So I think the video review is the next biggest step where we can make huge strides with the kids. Like I think all goalies, that if you're doing lessons, that's great, but if you're not either watching yourself on those lessons afterwards or providing video of your games for your coach, I think you're missing a huge opportunity. Like for me, once I turned pro and I hit the Ranger system, like my game completely changed the way I was reading plays once I started watching video with the goalie coach. Just my understanding of like when to challenge, who the threats are on the ice, and what to look for. I mean, my mind was blown. Like I think that's the biggest missing piece at the youth level right now.
What would be one thing that you know now that you wish you knew back in your playing days?
I think the main thing was just kind of understanding who the threats were on the ice as far as like my crease management. I think growing up, I was always taught like you need to challenge, you need to be outside of the blue. So I was constantly over aggressive, and then I would give up some really easy like backdoor goals. So I wouldn't say I was a student of the game whatsoever. I think I would just get locked in on the puck, and that was it. Once I started understanding my position more, the game completely slowed down, which led to so much more success. Like there's goals I know I gave up on in college. I was like, man, that'd be hitting you in the chest right now because of just how far out you were or whatever. Yeah, I definitely in college would have been chasing it more as opposed to once I turned pro. Like the game was coming to me more.
What are 3 principles that you have kind of held on to that have guided your decisions, guided your career, kind of guided your path in life?
I think for me, one of the big things now that I almost wish I would have known known before or thought about before was you're responsible for your own development. You know, you got to be willing to put the time in to really take your game to the next level, because ultimately you're the one that's going to make it happen. There's so many guys out there that are competing for the same positions at you. If you're not willing to take charge, there's not other guys that are going to do it for you. You know what I mean? The guys who are willing to put in the work themselves or seek out help are the ones that are going to be moving on to the next level, which kind of goes into another thing. I think the main thing is just making it happen. I mean, you're either letting things happen or you're the ones initiating and making it happen. I think there's so many kids out there that are playing that are all kind of going for the same things. If you're not willing to do that extra work, someone else is going to. So make sure it's you.
Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Before we end, can you just tell all of the viewers, all of the listeners, how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can check us out. Our website's www.mountainhighhockey.com. All our contact info is on there as far as what we do in Colorado. We work with a lot of youth associations and We have 3 goalie coaches on staff that are available for lessons and that kind of stuff, but all that info is there. Our Instagram is at MTN High Hockey, and then my personal Instagram is at @itzabs.
Thanks again for joining me today. Always love talking with you. Always love learning from you.
Yeah, no problem, Josh.
Well, there you have it. Huge thanks, Matt Zaba. If you want to stay in touch with Matt, make sure you go online to mountainhighhockey.com or follow him on Instagram at MTN High Hockey or at It's Zabs. And make sure you check back here later for more interviews.